Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of What the L. Firstly, I do just want to apologize. I haven't filmed for a couple of weeks, and I'm not going to lie, life has just been lifing. My mental health has taken a little bit of a dip. I've started on some new medication, which I'm adjusting to. If you've ever started new medication, you'll know that it's a bit like spin the wheel. What personality are we waking up with today? And seriously, I'm not gonna lie, I've also decided to get back into contact with my therapist, who I had therapy with for 2 years, because I think I've reached the point where I can't do things alone anymore, and seeking the help and the support from somebody who knows my background, my traumas very well, I think it's a good idea that I go back to therapy. It's not a step back. It's not a step back. It's to help me heal and grow and learn from my mistakes. The truth is, I have been really struggling with motivation. I've been feeling really crappy about myself lately, and I just haven't wanted to press the record button. But today I have woken up in a much better mindset. I've even done the school run this morning and went and got a sunbed first thing. And then I got ready, and now I'm here filming an episode. So let's get back on the horse, because it's the year of the horse. And welcome back to another episode of What the L. Have you ever had just one of those weeks where your mental health takes over and you're literally questioning every single life decision you've ever made? And then you think, do you know what will fix this? Recording a podcast about 30 things that I have learned since turning 30. And listen, I am by no means an expert. I'm simply just a woman in her 30s navigating life. And I have made some very, very questionable decisions and choices in my life. But they have actually provided excellent learning opportunities. So, silver linings. So, I now actually am 32. I am in my 30s. I'm in my second year of my 30s. And so far, my 30s have probably been the best decade that I've had so far. I've kind of got to the point where I don't care what people think about me. I've stopped worrying about what people think of me and their opinions on me. I've started to worry about protecting my peace instead from people who definitely should never have had access to it in the first place. And protecting my energy, because there's energy vampires out there, guys. There's people that like to suck that energy from you. They take the light from your eyes. They dim your sparkle. Don't let that happen. These people definitely shouldn't have had access to you in the first place. Also, if somebody is making you feel consistently confused, drained, like you're the problem, I'm not going to lie, sorry, they probably have narcissistic traits and they're probably very toxic. And another thing that I've learned is that people with narcissistic traits, they will rarely apologize. They will rarely apologize to you, but instead they will give you a TED talk about why it's actually your fault. And then they will have you saying sorry for expressing your own feelings. Your peace is so much more valuable than being liked. And it is so important to have boundaries. Boundaries aren't rude, they are emotional security systems to protect you. Therapy is not weakness. Therapy isn't weakness. Therapy is maintenance. You know, like your car goes for an MOT? Well, therapy is like that, but for your brain. Therapy teaches you so much about yourself as well. Like, life is one continuous journey, learning things about yourself daily. And if it wasn't for therapy, I would never have explored my sexuality. And I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad that I was finally honest and open with what I like without feeling judged. Your 30s are just when you stop tolerating nonsense. You stop tolerating it and you just want to keep the peace instead. A big one that I've learned over the years is alcohol and substances do not fix your problems. They don't. They just suppress your emotions and give you 3-day hangovers. And not everybody in life needs to understand your journey. They're not on it. You are on your own journey. Doesn't matter what somebody else thinks about your own journey. It's your life and you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. I've also realized that sometimes in life it doesn't go to plan. I mean, I once owned a house to now no longer being on the mortgage and going from that normal family unit that society teaches us is the norm. I've done it all backwards. And I'm now very much single and not married. So life doesn't go to plan. I did honestly think in my 30s now I would have 2 children and I would be happily married. No. But that's okay. Not everything goes to plan. An ego death is real. I have experienced my ego death, and I think it was at the beginning of my spirituality journey. I had that moment when life strips away my identity that I once thought I had. It forced me to rebuild myself. And when that happens, I've realized that I can't control everything. And that's where faith comes in. Now, when I say a higher power, I don't mean religious. I mean understanding that there is something bigger than us, something guiding us in ways that we can't quite understand yet. Because when you do look back at your life, you realize that things had to fall apart for better things to happen. And sometimes your worst moments in life are actually just redirections. Rejection is redirection. But try telling that to somebody who's got EUPD and a massive fear of rejection. Trust me, it has taken me a long time to accept that rejection is just redirection. And growth is uncomfortable because if it was comfortable, toxic people would evolve. When you get into your 30s, your body will absolutely humble you. It really will. It really, really will. I can't rave like I used to anymore. And yes, I will be hanging up the raving shoes soon. I will. I've just got a few more this year. My time has come to hang those shoes up and leave that all behind me, leave that life behind me. I've noticed that in my 30s, my circle around me has become much smaller, and my friends, my best friends, are who I class as family. Family to me now is the family that I've chosen, and I don't know what I would do without my little small circle, my little support system. I don't know what I would do without it. I'm very grateful to have such close relationships and friendships with the people that are in my life, and you know exactly who you are. So thank you for that. You literally can also start over at any age. Even though you're in your 30s and society has us being like, oh yeah, we all need to be married and have kids. Screw that. Do what you want. Who cares? I've also learned as a mother that your child watches you, how you treat yourself more than anybody else does. Your child learns how you treat people by watching how you treat others and how you allow others to treat you. And healing is one of the biggest gifts that you can give to your children. The right person will not force you to shrink yourself. Trust me on that one. And being alone is actually so much better than being surrounded by the wrong people. And like I said, life does rarely go to plan, but sometimes that plot twist is better. Do you know what? Confidence isn't about thinking how amazing you are. It's about not caring if people don't think you are. And the older I get, the more I realise that your parents were just winging it as well. And to be honest, mine didn't do a very good job. No, that's harsh. I can't say that. We can't say that, sorry. And all I've got to say, guys, is please protect your precious energy. Protect it. Protect it like it's your phone battery on 3%. Look after your energy. Don't just give it away. Don't give it away, please, because you're giving somebody that power. I actually don't think that anybody knows what they're doing in life, but there definitely are some people who are better at pretending they know what they're doing. I wish I was like them, because I'm full of chaos. My life can just be full of chaos, but do you know what? It's calming down. It's calming down, and yeah. So those are the things that I've learned since turning 30. I'm interested to know what you've learned since turning 30 as well. I mean, I've probably learned so much more, but those are the things that I can think of. But there's probably way more things that I've learned. And actually, another thing that I've learned is you can cut off toxic family members just to protect your peace. You can do that. You do have free will. If they don't bring you anything but negativity, gone. See you later. Guys, what the hell was I thinking? What the hell was I thinking? This is a segment where I share some dating stories that have literally had me thinking, what the hell? So today's story, let me take you back to a time when I was 18 years old and I was on a girls' holiday. I went to Magaluf with a couple of friends from college. And honestly, it was chaos. At the time, I did have a very unhealthy relationship with alcohol. I was out drinking most weekdays of every student night that I could possibly go to. I had a fake ID at 17 years old as well. So looking back, that was a terrible idea, but also very on point for teenage me. And to be fair, the friendship group that I was actually friends with at the time was actually very toxic. And there was a lot of trauma that was tied up in that period of my life. But anyway, Magaluf. We all went to Magaluf together before I started uni. And now, apparently, unknown to me, there was a guy from Wales on the same flight as me who had spotted me in the airport. He had actually nicknamed me Pinky because at the time I had pink hair. Insert photo here. Stop. I actually looked like that at one point. But anyway, we randomly bumped into each other on a night out in BCM. And this guy comes up to me and says something like, "You're Pinky from the airport," which is possibly the most confusing opening I've ever actually received. But we got on really, really well. He walked me back to my hotel that night and he left. And I just assumed I'm never going to see Welshie again. Never. Magaluf, no, I'm never going to see him again. Fast forward to the next day, I was violently hungover. I had been sick the whole day. Alcohol has never and still doesn't agree with me. I was very hungover. So my friends decided to go out and get some food and drinks for the room. But as they were leaving the hotel, they bumped into Welshie downstairs, who had literally been waiting outside to see. He was literally waiting outside my hotel to see if I would come out. But thank goodness he bumped into my friends, because there was suddenly a knock at the door. And he walked in, and when I tell you, I literally jumped out of bed and bear hugged this man. I was so happy to see him again. I never thought I was going to see him again. So at that moment, we did share our socials and we added each other on. Back in those days, it was Facebook. Had a really good night out, and I did end up staying at his hotel that night and then walked back to mine the next morning. Anyway, his holiday finished first and he left, and I was still in Magaluf. And I remember using the hotel computers like to Facebook chat him and be like, "I hope you're home safely, miss you loads." Like, it was so romantic. The best holiday romance ever. Anyway, we do keep speaking when we get back to England. And one day I was working in Reading at the time. And if you know Reading, you know how close the M4 is, which connects Wales. So randomly, there I was driving, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to drive to Wales. So there I go. No overnight bag, no spare clothes, just pure vibes. And I literally turned up on this man's doorstep on a Tuesday afternoon. And I'm pretty sure his mum said to him, do you think she's pregnant? Because apparently the only logical reason that a woman would turn up unannounced on a guy's doorstep is if she's pregnant. To be fair, Welshie, he was a really decent bloke. He was a really decent bloke, and he even drove up to me a couple of weeks after, but I think because of the distance between us, it didn't really go anywhere, and we didn't see each other again. But plot twist, he did actually request me on socials again a couple of months ago. So Welshie, if you are listening, I do really apologise to you and your mum for just randomly turning up that one day. And I'm sorry if I scared you with a pregnancy scare. Good times, good times. And to finish this episode off, I've got 2 questions from the Eliminated team. The first question that somebody has asked me is, if I could have dinner with somebody dead or alive, who would it be? Without a doubt, David Attenborough. Just imagine the stories and just imagine listening to his voice. I mean, I listen to David Attenborough if I want to fall asleep. Wait, no, that sounds rude. I like to fall asleep to David Attenborough because he's just got such a soothing voice. And I hope that if I was to ever have dinner with him, he wouldn't put me to sleep with his voice. But I would just be so interested in knowing his life and knowing what he's seen. And to be honest, Noah would absolutely love to spend some time with David Attenborough because he actually wants to be an explorer. And question 2 that somebody asked me is, what has been my most life-altering experience? Probably was the birth of Noah. That was extremely traumatic. And 4 days after he was born, I was rushed into hospital because my kidney was literally on the brink of rupturing. But it was also the same day as my grandma's funeral. So it's actually really heartbreaking because I never got to say goodbye to my grandma properly. But also I was very close to literally not being here anymore. So I'm really thankful for what happened in that period because I was very unwell and I had to have emergency surgery. And I lived with a nephrostomy bag draining out of my kidney for 4 months before I had an operation on my kidney where they removed some of it because it basically just looked like a deflated balloon. And even now, to this day, Noah knows the story, and Noah says, her kidney was the size of a football. Honestly, I think when I have James on the pod and we sit down and have a chat, we will reminisce that story because it was so chaotic at the time. We didn't know if I was coming or going. I was spending like weeks being admitted into hospital whilst also trying to breastfeed a newborn baby. And yeah, I won't go into too many details, but let's just say I was no, I can't even say it. I can't. I'm sorry, you're never gonna know. So yeah, I've realized that life can change very quickly, but experiences like that do also change how you view the world and see the world. This week, I'm actually going to Amsterdam with my best friend for her 30th birthday, and I cannot wait. We've both been before multiple times, but we've actually never both been together. So it kind of feels like the universe is testing whether or not 2 women in their 30s can behave like responsible adults in a country that's known for not behaving like responsible adults. So next week I will report back, assuming that I don't accidentally adopt a stray bike or wake up in Belgium or something like that. But anyway, I do also need to remember that what happens in Amsterdam stays in Amsterdam unless it's podcast worthy. Thank you guys. Thank you for listening to this episode of What the L. And please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out more than you know. So thank you. Bye.